So I've had the chance to work with great people in the last 4 years, helping them build their websites, and some people were very successful, much more than me, and I've had the great chance to learn from them and to try to figure out what they do differently compared to people that maybe are stuck. Even me, there was a point where I've plateaued because I was selling my time, and I've looked at people, for example, selling courses and being very successful at it. And that gave me this insight and this courage of changing my model. So I've learned a lot from lots of great people, and I want to share with you some of the things that they do and hopefully inspire you in some ways. And just so you know, I've worked on over 200 Thrive Teams websites in the last 4 or 5 years. Half of the websites were for people starting out, and half were from established businesses, and a few were from very successful people. So if you're struggling, the information is out there. There are solutions, there are ways of tweaking what we do to move to the next level. So for me, it's all about going to the next level, trying stuff, and then getting stuck and getting unstuck and trying new things. So let me show you here, and I've looked at over 5,000 Thrive Teams websites as well, because lots of people write to me, a lot of people post questions on Facebook. So I've had a great chance to have a big picture view of people that are starting out, that sometimes it's a slow start and it takes time, and some people that are already at a successful stage, and selling a lot of their skills and knowledge. So the first thing they do, which I've came to learn, is that they accept the limits of the tools. They're not, people come to me, and those very successful people, and they accept. So when I tell them Thrive Teams doesn't do this or Thrive Teams doesn't do that, they're okay with it, and they ask me for an alternate way of doing it or a more simple way. I will suggest to them, Thrive Teams doesn't do that, but we can do X, Y, or Z instead. Which one would you prefer? And they're okay with it. I see people switching tools if Thrive Teams doesn't do that. I've worked personally on, Thrive Teams website where I've built the whole website for a client. There was one particular example, and in the middle of the project, that client wanted a feature. He wanted the header, the menu on top to be, scrolling with the page, and the theme that he had didn't allow for that. And I told him it's not really possible as of now. In the future, with the theme builder, it might be possible, but right now, I mean, it could be possible, but it would require a lot of time and custom coding, and that's not something that I do. And he said, okay. And then I've delivered the project and was happy, except for that feature that he didn't have, just this animation of the menu on top, this sticky ribbon on top for the menu. And then he decided to, after a few months, he asked me, like, I want to rebuild my website with another tool that would allow me for that sticky menu on top. I said, I don't know other tools. My specialty is Thrive Teams. So an example of wasting time and money on some small features. I've seen that a lot. People wanting specific design, specific features, and it can be a waste of time and money. So and successful people, they accept what the tools are. They ask, sometimes they ask questions, but they're fine, and we always find ways of doing things. Sometimes we just wait. Sometimes I tell clients, it's not available now, but I know they're working on it. And sometimes, yes, it can take 6 months to a year to 2 years before the feature comes on, but does it matter? So very often it doesn't, and they iterate. So we build stuff, and then they accept that we do stuff later. So that's one thing that I encourage people to do, is to accept the limits of the tools. The other thing they do is that they focus on the client. So instead of focusing on tools and features and design, which is normal when we start, we love learning about tools and to make things work, and it's a phase. I call it the honeymoon phase. We buy tools and we fall in love with the tools, and then we buy them, and then we explore the tools, and then everything is beautiful up to a certain point where we hate the tools because it doesn't do what we wanted or what we're expecting. But there's a point where we go over that emotional state of being in love with the tool and hating the tool, and then we just say, okay, let's accept reality and let's focus on generating clients. And that's what I want for people is, you know, fall in love with the tool, hate the tool, that's fine, and then let's accept the tools and let's move on and think about how do we get clients, how do we communicate the value that we have, and so that's my take. And successful people do think about their clients a lot, so they engage with them. They do all sorts of things. I'll come back to that. One thing they do as well is that they can explain their business very clearly. Very often I will go on their website and it's very clear in 5 seconds, in 10 seconds I can understand what they do. And when we start, very often it's not obvious to communicate what we do in a clear way and in a very fast way. It's something that we need to practice, we need to improve. But if you can do that, then your visitors on your website will understand what you do, will understand it faster. And if it's more clear than your competitors, there's a better chance that they'll at least reach out to you and become a lead, show their interest. So again, this is an art, and I've learned it, over time. It's something that I'm still improving, but it's part of building a business. One thing that they have is a budget as well. So, sometimes because I'm a designer, because I help people with their website, sometimes I ask a question, "What's your budget?" And some people are not comfortable with it, but the successful people will have a budget assigned for the website. And sometimes they tell me this, sometimes they don't, but they still have one budget, and they know they're going to spend X amount on the website and the pages and the website itself, an amount on ads. So they spend on marketing. So the tools as well, Thrive Themes and hosting and stuff like that. They budget their time as well. So budget is not only about money, but when people come to me, I will give them a price for the project, but I tell them you will need to create the content, you will need to validate or approve what I do or confirm things as we go along. So they need clients need to budget their time, and they do that very well. They assign time for website creation and creating the content. Very often they budget for courses, coaching, hiring people. They have other freelancers as well. So they hire me for the technical part or the design part, but very often they hire writers. They join coaching groups and they hire consultants, and they budget for that. So which when we start, and it's very normal. When we start, we can't justify spending on a lot of things, but there's a point where as soon as we get a bit of money, we should invest in learning and in coaching, hiring, saving time, and managing our time. One thing they do as well is they budget for unexpected things. So when I tell them, hey, we didn't expect that, they're okay with it because they've budgeted for it. They know. And very often when people ask me for a price, I will give them a price, but I say, hey, by the way, it can't be more, because very often clients will want to add stuff on their website that initially they didn't think they needed at that time, but then it just makes sense. So their budget is not I have X amount for my website and I can't go over that. They know that it's between this amount and this amount, and they understand that there are unexpected things that do happen, or opportunities that do happen as well, and they can reallocate their budget depending on what's happening. So and then they budget for mistakes, for waste, for redos, for hiring the wrong person. So they're not frustrated because something happened. They can be, but they accept it. It budgeted for it. It's a bit like if you drive a car, why not budgeting for repairs for your car, or for tickets, or if you get caught speeding or whatever the case may be, you miss a red light and then you get a $500 ticket. Yeah, it's it's painful. But if you've budgeted for it, repairs and unexpected things, then yeah, it's part of the budget. And I haven't got a ticket in I don't know 25 years of driving, but I still have some budget for it, and I wouldn't be that upset if it does happen. Um, so one last thing is that they focus on return on investment. So they know that they're gonna spend X amount of dollars on website, on ads, on like unexpected thing and learning and trying new stuff, and they know that if they keep looking, they keep focusing on their clients and their audience, and that eventually that will lead to a return. And they're really much, they prefer to spend more to get more return instead of spending less and getting less return. So this mindset about money is something that they have, that lots of us, including myself, sometimes we're stingy, or we don't see the return, and there's a point where we have to spend money to make money, or to learn at least, or spend the time. So sometimes that's what I tell people: if you don't have the money to hire people, you can learn. There are lots of resources to learn. One thing that they do as well is that they publish on a regular basis, or when they start. So it's not about necessarily creating, especially at the beginning. I don't tell everyone to build a blog and to publish 5 videos per week and all that stuff, but at least publishing your first page, and quickly. And very often people, depending on what you do, with one great homepage, or one great sales page, and the homepage can be a sales page. With one great page, an opt-in, a form, a thank you page, that can go a long way in finding your first clients and then generating revenue. And eventually, like me, when I started with Thrive Teams, I didn't know what to write about. I didn't have, I didn't see myself recording videos. And then, so the first 2 years of doing Thrive Teams, I just had a one-page website, and then I've added a few more pages, like an about us page, and then a contact us, and a testimonial page and portfolio page. So I've added pages like that, but I haven't, I didn't start blogging on 2 years after I've started, and it was like one blog post every 2 months at the beginning, and now I'm much more regular, because it's not at least for me, it's not natural to record videos and to write, but there's a point where it can actually be fun. And successful people do it with the right priorities, so depending on their business model. One thing they do is that they share what they do, whether they run ads or they share manually. And so if you have content, it's one thing, but you have to use that content to and share it. That's like part of what they do. Sometimes it's shared automatically. Sometimes it's indexed by Google because of their niche, and that's the other benefit. If you have a smaller niche, it's going to resonate more. But there's a point where you have to share. It can be done for free, or it can be done through running ads. For me, it's the same. It's about exposure. And then another thing they do is that they engage with their audience, and they listen to their audience. They participate in conversations. They write content for their audience, and they engage with people. And it can be done for free. It can be done without the goal of selling stuff to people. Is just to help people. But if you help people, very often they will be interested in maybe the other stuff that you have to offer, and all of them as well have products and services and courses, and they promote that as well. So it's not about never talking about what you do, as a paid resource for your audience. You have to do both. You have to do free and paid. And there are multiple ways and approaches to that, but there's a point where if you got visitors on your website, or people watching your YouTube videos, or on Facebook, or leads, you have to engage with them, essentially in a conversation that can be done in, through chat or emails or through a call. But talking to people is a great way to learn about them, and then to be able to offer them solutions to their problem. And then the last thing, if you do all of that, if we all do all of those things, the last thing is that we get results, right? For ourselves, because people want to buy from us, and then our clients get results as well. So that's the end of, that's the end goal, is to get results for ourselves and for our clients. Then we can reinvest some of the money to improve what we do and help even more people. So that's that's the way for me to get up to this goal that for most of us, we want to make a living at least from our skills, from our knowledge, and there are lots of things that we need to do along the way, but that's the end goal. And just so you know, the reality is that there's never been more help available very often for free or for very cheap, whether it's through books or YouTube channels or in many ways. And I invite you to have a look at what successful people do. I've had the great chance to look at what successful people do and what people that are still struggling do, and build a framework around it. And what I do now is based on looking at the people that are very successful, and but for me that's not enough. We have to look at what people, when people get stuck, what do they do that, or what they're not doing that they should be doing. That's a great question. Or where do they waste their time and their money, or if they run out of money, where have they wasted their money? So for me, it's all about time and money, and investing our time and money at the right place, at the right rate, on the right things, to get a return and get results for our clients and then for ourselves. So that's hopefully that's what I've learned, at least, and hopefully you've learned something from this list. If you're interested to know more, have a look below. I'm going to link this presentation. This is all built, by the way, in Thrive Architect. As a blog post, you'll see the slides just underneath the blog post. If you're interested to do that, I think it's a great way to communicate more efficiently through videos. So if you're interested, if you have a look at the blog post in the description below if you're watching this on YouTube. And if you have any questions, any comments, any feedback, please leave it below.